my mother said to make like what they do is they start.
Yehuda, if you sit in the middle, it'll make the live stream much better. Yehuda, Rabbi Hoch.
When there's 5 person they start.
That's fine. That's fine. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Why is it 10 minutes and 8 seconds?
Because they do it. I don't know.
I didn't go like this.
Slimy.
Or thumbs up.
So look at this.
Anyone can see you doing that. Anyone can see that you do it. I don't want to look at it. But they don't know physical. No, they don't know what it means. But when you do, you type it the right way, you will not be able to stop forward. You'll be watching it live.
So I'm going to call these notes. It's live. Is it live?
Yeah.
So stuck in your video. Like whoever does it, it just stuffs it up. Should I just like sit down now? Is there a speaker on?
Of course there is.
Huh?
What's the point of putting on the video if there's no speaker?
Really?
Remember, everyone is saying it's being recorded, it will be eternally remembered. Just like what Hashem does to all of us throughout the year.
What? It's being recorded. So it's on Mr. Singh says. So I mean, Mr. Singh is my father.
Hello, and welcome to the Chayel for bringing 577 in Yeshiva College. One true. It is very surprising. Tafshinayim Ches. Yechia b'neinu 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 b'Mashiach b'neinu b'Mayit. Yechia HaMelech. Shem Esachim Yochas.
But do harmony, do music, do something.
follow next one.
No, no, not at all. It's just it was very hard to see where I talked before.
So, you know, the Melech is Basada, the king's in the field, and he's smiling, Panim Yafres, and Panim Shechakos. So it's an opportune time for all of us to ask the Eibusha for whatever we want and whatever we need, starting with the Golan, to sit together with the Rabbi at Fabring tonight, Shalim HaKodesh, a real Chayil Fabring. And all those who need a bracha for refuah should have a bracha for refuah. Those who need a bracha for shidduchim should have shidduchim. Those who need a bracha for the children, chinuch, and so on. We should all have the brachas that we need. Parnasa every year should have a call to Selam in our community and say Shar Klal Yisrael. Thank you. So, Chai Elul marks the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the birthday of the Alter Rebbe. And we know the story of the birth of the Baal Shem Tov, that his father, Rabbi Eliezer, some places it says he was already 100 years old. His father, Rabbi Eliezer, and his mother, some places says she was 90. That's at least according to one year son. Didn't have children for many years. They couldn't have children. And they excelled in Achnosas Orchim. And one Shabbos, the table was full of guests. They heard a knock on the door Shabbos afternoon. And they opened the door and they see a traveler, and it was obvious from his dress that he had just come from a long journey. In other words, he was traveling Shabbos. And all the guests there felt the chutzpah for him to come to Fruma Yid's house on Shabbos, showing Chilul Shabbos before Hestia that he publicly desecrated Shabbos. But Rabbi Eliezer showed a very different attitude. He welcomed him and sat him down and he gave him a meal. He took care of him just like any of the other guests, maybe even better. And after Shabbos, this guest came to Rabbi Eliezer and his wife Sarah, and he told them that he's Eliyahu Hanavi, and he was sent down from Shamayim to test their Ahavas Yisrael, whether they were ready to welcome even a Yid who wasn't obviously from, who was different than them. And they passed the test, and because they passed the test, therefore they're going to be able to have a child who's going to excel in Ahavas Yisrael and light up the world with a new light. And this Eliyahu told them that when the child is born, they should tell him to not fear anyone except for Hashem. And as we know, shortly after his birth, a year later, he was born, 1698, Tov Shimon Ches, the Baal Shem Tov was born. And not that much afterwards, whether according to one case he was 5 years old, or the other case he said he was only a year and a half. Either way, not that long afterwards, his father, he was a yatim from both of his parents, and his father on his deathbed says to him, Yisrael, love every Jew no matter what, and don't be afraid of anyone except for Hashem himself. And that becomes the focus of the Baal Shem Tov's life. Love every Jew no matter what, and don't fear anyone except for the Eibusha. Chai Elul, 26 years later, the Baal Shem Tov meets his teacher, Achia Ashiloni, who was from Yetzim Mitzrayim, the teacher of Eliyahu Hanavi, who comes back to teach the Baal Shem Tov. That's when he's 26, so already 1724. And then when he's 36, finally the Baal Shem Tov, who's a scholar, as a great miracle worker, and the tzaddik that the Baal Shem Tov was. 11 years later, Baal Shem Tov is 47 years old, so 1745, or Kehaz, Kaf Kuf Hey, the Alter Rebbe is born. Which is a further Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov was his scholar when he was 36. But in truth, his Gilui came out even more when he was 47 with the birth of the Alter Rebbe. Because as we know, in the words of Rabbi Yitzchak, we all ate from the same bowl, but the Litvak took the best part. Referring to the Alter Rebbe, he took the best part. And as the Frierdiker Rebbe told the Rebbe, he did us Baal Shem Tov, that the teaching of the Alter Rebbe is the teaching of that. That's where the core of the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is. And if you look at Perish and Miksav and Chassidus, Tanya, the first part of Tanya, what's the first part? L'kutei Amorim, the heart, the first part, and it was Dafka Purta, as chapter 32, Perish Lev, is Ahavas Yisrael, the first message of the Baal Shem Tov brought from his father. And the second chelik of Tanya, Shara Yichud Ve'emunah, is the second thing that the Baal Shem Tov heard from his father, not to be afraid of anyone except for Hashem himself. Because why should you be afraid of anyone? Because the only reality is Hashem Echad. There's no other reality. Everything's B'Hashgacha Pratis. Nothing happens outside of what Hashem wants. And that is the foundation. That's the Nekuda of Shara Yichud Ve'emunah. The Alter Rebbe is Megalim. The teachings of the Baal Shem Tov are a lot even more than the Baal Shem Tov himself. He's mashal in the Teinos of Baal Shem Tov. So the Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov was when he was 36, and even more so with the birth of the Alter Rebbe. On that note, we're talking about Ahavas Yisrael. Chayil is certainly a day of Ahavas Yisrael. And the Lev of Tanya, so there's an interesting little anecdote of when the Rebbe's father was once giving a talk in Shul, and apparently there was some machlekes going on in the community, and the Rebbe's father got up in Shul and he said the following. He said that it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, after Peter Egel, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, "Ve'ata now, im tisa chatosom, v'im loi mecheni na misifrecha asher kasafta." Ve'ata im tisa chatosom. Now, if you'll forgive their sin, sorry, v'im ayin. And if not, erase me from the book that you wrote. So the obvious question over here is, he doesn't finish off. If you forgive them, then what? There's no conclusion there. If you forgive them, so Rashi has to comment and say, Harei Tov. If you forgive them, then good. And if not, then the pasuk continues. But the pasuk doesn't say what if you forgive them. It just says, now if you'll forgive them, blank. And if you don't, erase me from the book. So the Rebbe's father said as follows, that Moshe Rabbeinu is deeply disturbed. Why was he so upset? Because the Eibishter wanted to destroy the Jewish people after Keitei. Moshe Rabbeinu says, how can you destroy the Jewish people? How can you do such a thing? You promised to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, V'har ba'arve zaracha, you're going to have children like the stars in the sky and the sand in the V'afar ha'aretz. So how can you destroy the Jewish people? You promised their forefathers otherwise. They said that's not a problem. That you are a descendant from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and I will rebuild Klal Yisrael through you. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu's existence allowed for a halamiyah, for a thought of possibly punishing and destroying Am Yisrael. If there was no Moshe Rabbeinu, there wouldn't be a possibility. But because there's a Moshe Rabbeinu, this gives room for Hayalechiyah, destruction of Am Yisrael. So therefore Moshe Rabbeinu says, now that this has come, it's come to this situation, whether you forgive them, whether you forgive them, lawyer, you don't forgive them, either way I want out of this book. I don't want to be here anymore. If my mitzvahs can allow for there to be destruction, if my mitzvahs can allow for something negative to happen to you because of me, I don't want to be, my mitzvahs no longer to be. What's the mitzvahs of Moshe Rabbeinu? Torah. He doesn't want his mitzvahs. Either way, mecheni na misifra. That's what the Rebbe's father explained at this occasion. In other words, Ahavas Yisrael doesn't mean that you have to work on yourself not to do something bad. Or work on yourself not to think something bad. that at the mitzias that you can have that your mitzias can have a negative effect on the yid. This is out rule. I can't exist with such a reality. Now, if you look interesting, this pasuk is Perek Lamed Beis of Chumash Shmos. Leiv of Shmos. Not only is it Perek Lamed Beis, it's pasuk Lamed Beis. Leiv of Chumash Shmos is this pasuk. So we see that the heart of many things of Torah, both in Chassidus, Teresh B'Tzav, Chassidus, and Teresh B'Tzav, K'Trutei, is the Indian of Avas Yisrael. But either way, we're talking Chai Elul, and Chai Elul is the Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov. It's associated with the Gilui of Eliyahu, that's how it all started, and one can ask, what connection do you have to me? Gilui Eliyahu, Lav Dafke everyone has. Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov, you know who's the Baal Shem Tov? What shaykhs does it have to me? There's an interesting quote in Likutei Torah from the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe says from Reb Chaim Vital, that the Reb Chaim Vital says in Shara Kedusha V'Nevuah, the Reb Chaim Vital says that the highest madrega that a person can reach is being megala his neshama. V'hi l'mayla v'madregas gilui eliyahu. Being megala your own neshama, getting to know yourself, is higher than the madrega of gilui eliyahu. You know, like the famous story they say about the fellow who wanted to see Eliyahu Hanavi very badly, and he goes to his rabbi and says, "Rabbi, please, how can I see Eliyahu Hanavi?" He thought he would be told he has to fast 40 fasts, he has to jump up and do crazy things. So the rabbi said, "No, take a wagon full of food and go to this household and bring them the food for Shabbos and ask them if you can be their guest, and then you'll see Eliyahu Hanavi." And so the fellow was very excited, and he gets a wagon full of food. And he goes to the family, and he introduces himself that he'd like to stay there. He has food for them for Shabbos, with pleasure. They're very happy for him to stay. And he stays the whole Shabbos. And he waits Friday night. Nothing to do Friday night. Shabbos morning, before Shabbos, also nothing to do. After Shabbos, maybe by Shalosh Sudis, maybe Milav Malka. The whole Shabbos, he doesn't see Eliyahu. So he goes back to his Rabbi and he says to his Rabbi, "I didn't see Eliyahu. I followed exactly what he told me and I wasn't certain." So his Rabbi says, "Okay, and this week I have a little bit of a different, we have to tweak this recipe. What you have to do is instead of actually walking into the house, take 2 wagonfuls of food, but don't walk in the house. Just stop before the house and listen." Fine. So he went that Friday with 2 wagons full of food, and he stops in front of the house and he listens, and he hears crying. Kids are crying, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're cold, and they're pleading with their mother to give them food, and the mother says, "Don't worry, just like Hashem sent us Eliyahu Hanavi last week, Hashem will send us Eliyahu Hanavi again this week." And he realized that Eliyahu Hanavi was him. In other words, this is what Alter Rebbe is saying, that greater than Madrega, than Gilui Eliyahu, is when you reveal your own neshama. And like, there's a story about Alter Rebbe, that he was once at a chasana together with Ramat Chernobyl. They're both at a chasana, and Ramat Chernobyl says to the Baal Shem, to the Alter Rebbe, he says, "You see this chassid of mine, he is zoicher to Gilui Eliyahu." And the Alter Rebbe said to him, "You see this chassid of mine," and he pointed at Yami Kletzker, and he says, "This chassid is zoicher to Gilui Yehuda shebenefesh." Every time he says, "Sim Shalom." Gilui Yehuda shebenefesh, when a person gets in touch with his own neshama, it's a much greater Gilui than Gilui Eliyahu. Sometimes we're looking for a Gilui Eliyahu in our lives. We're looking for Gilui Eliyahu. We're waiting for someone to come in Fabreg and inspire us. We're waiting for a Yom Tov to come and uplift us. We're waiting for the kids to go to school. This holiday is driving us crazy. We're waiting for this change, that change, something to get better. And then we'll start. Then we'll serve the Eibusher. Then we'll get better. Then we're going to start our change. Then we're going to start to daven about it because that's when things are going to change. We're waiting for some kind of Gilui Eliyahu in our life. We're waiting for something to come our way. And this message is that don't go and find the treasure under the bridge, wherever it was, the treasure's in your own house. Don't wait for any changes. In your neshama lies the greatest treasures. And it's here and now. Don't wait for something to come your way, and Eliyahu to come and lift you up. In your current situation, the current challenges the Abishur gave you, you can shine greater than any Gilui Eliyahu. There's a very interesting letter in Igros. It's in Keilah Chav Tes. I tried to find it here, but I couldn't find Keilah Chav Tes. Keilah Chav Tes, Reish Gimel, where the Rebbe writes to an individual from New Haven. The Rebbe says to him, this individual wrote to the Rebbe, we need some kind of inspiration over here. We need someone, we need extra reinforcement. Someone who can lift up the congregation, who can inspire them. We need more manpower. So the Rebbe answers this fellow, Terem Yikro Vanyen. Before you even cried out, I already answered. I already sent the chassid your way. His name is Moshe Yitzchak Hecht. And you obviously don't know him. He has tremendous koiches, highly talented. He's a powerhouse. Get to know this guy. He will bring the inspiration that you need. Who's the letter addressed? Who's this letter addressed? Moshe Yitzchak Hecht. In other words, the Rebbe was telling him, you have the power. You tell me you need more reinforcement. That reinforcement that you need, that extra manpower, that inspiration, lies inside your heart. Don't wait for Eliyahu Navi or some other guy to come and help you out. You have the koyach. Get to know yourself. And like the famous story that was circling around a little while ago from the My Moments with the Rebbe, with Rabbi Weinreb, I think is his name, that he says that in 1971 he was in his early 30s. I guess he's a big marker on the OU, I think. In 1971, he was going through some kind of crisis. He had a lot of questions, he had a lot of doubts, philosophical issues, and then he didn't really know where to turn, so he decided to call up the Lubavitcher Rebbe for some guidance. And he calls up the Rebbe, and I didn't want to say his name. He hadn't met the Rebbe before, maybe embarrassed to say his name. And Rabbi Khan comes back to the phone. He says, who's speaking? So he says, it's a Jew from Silver Springs. I think that's the place. And Rabbi Khan says, what do you want? So he said that he has all kinds of questions, philosophical issues, questions in Emunah. And Rabbi Chadikov was paraphrasing the whole time. It was obvious the Rebbe was in the room. Rabbi Chadikov was paraphrasing what was going on in the conversation. So when he finished, he could hear the Rebbe say, tell him, push on the phone, that in Silver Springs there's a Yid named Weinreb. He should talk to him, he can help him out. You imagine what he felt like when he was on the line. So he says to Rabbi Chadikov, Ich heis Weinreb. So Rabbi Chadikov told the Rebbe, this is Weinreb. So the Rebbe said, if that's the case, tell him that I'm all about the Rebbe Tzazir. That from time to time you have to talk to yourself. In other words, you have the answer, you have the wisdom, you have the inspiration. You have to sometimes sit and have a real heart-to-heart talk with yourself. A deep and meaningful conversation with you. In your heart lies the answer and lies the inspiration. And he said he was in total shock. So Rabbi Chadikov asked him, did you hear what the Rebbe said? He said, no, I want to hear it again. And he repeated it. He said, you're a whiner. He said, Chadikov was also in shock. The kid said, that's the story. And he said that ever since then, anytime he has a question or a doubt or a problem, he reconnects with the Rebbe by learning a letter, a sircha, something from the Rebbe, and then he sits and thinks about himself. What do I have to say on this? And he finds answers. So the Yehuda is that Chai Elul is the Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov. And every year is Yisrael. And it's a time for us to have our own Gilui. To realize that we have incredible picks. We're the Der Hashvi, and they should put us here, Bashgacha Pratis. We're the generation that's going to bring Mashiach. Now we have immense keiches from all the deities before. We're superpowers. And like one of the Talmidei HaMaggid said, that we should walk around knowing that there's a crown on our head. You would feel like there's a crown on your head. You know nothing can stop you. Or as Rabbi Dudu Lider was bringing last night, that the Rebbe says that a Yid is mamish one with Atzmus. You're walking together with God Almighty. You're one with the Eibusher. What can stop you? Nothing can stop you. It's only your own insecurities and narishkeit that stop you from accomplishing, from achieving what you have to achieve. So we have to have the Gilui Yisrael within us. We have to be Megaleh, Chai Elul. There's no time like now. Deep in the Chedesh Elul. We have extra assistance. We have to be Megaleh, this koyach that every single one has. And Bepashtus, the Kudah is there, but Bepashtus, when a person learns Chassidus, which Chassidus is Pnimius HaTorah. And it's Megaleh, the Pnimius of a Yid. So when a person takes on themselves to increase in Chassidus, like Chai Elul, there's no time like now, to increase in our learning of Chassidus, whether it's with ourselves or with our wives or with our children or with our friends or someone, to add something of Chassidus with the goal in mind of having a Gilui Abal Shem Tov, to be Megala who we truly are. Now, I just think about, this is not exactly in Ruchni saying I just think about a couple of friends. Just recently I met a friend of mine that I haven't seen in 20 years. I feel old saying that, I just don't even say that at all. I'm 20, but anyway, I haven't seen him in 20 years. And we used to learn together, and he was very shvachet type of person, always sick, very thin and weak, a shvachet person. And now I meet him, I have no idea where he's holding a life, so he tells me he's running this big business, a huge company, food packaging, he's delivering, a massive thing, and it's growing. I totally didn't recognize him. I wouldn't have ever dreamt that he's shy of putting something like that together. Or another friend of mine, who was my camper in camp, and he was like a very overweight kid, always like heavy and depressed, and kids made fun of him. And today he's running a multi-million-dollar business, and he has a shmak. I see he gives checks for $50,000 in his I need his address. I was waiting. So you know, who would have thought that these kids would grow up to be such a big batzlachah, such an open heart, and hatzlachah a person. So, Bigash Misberuchnis, you have no idea what kind of keiches you have. We have to be Gilui Abal Shem Tov, Chai Elul, and get to know who we are, what we are. We are the generation that Moshe Rabbeinu is humbled before. We were chosen. We're the team. This is us. We're the people. There's nobody else. We're the generation that's going to bring Mashiach. And so let us start to be Megala, our inner keiches, l'chaim.
Oh,
Elul is a time when a chassid begins to deeply yearn to be by the Rebbe, to be in Chatzos Kachenu. That should be the natural desire of a chassid. He can't be there for whatever reason. I'll go on him. Someone new, so your mind should be there. You should want to be there. Not if they told you here's the ticket and your wife says you can go, you don't think about it. You jump. That's where a chassid should be waiting for the opportunity to be by the Rebbe for Tishrei. One time at a Fabringen, the Rebbe said, "L'chaim," to be those who are not here but here, and to those who are here but not here. So there's a mitzvah of being not here, but they're here. If your machshava is that you want to be by the Rebbe, then you're by the Rebbe. But one thing is for sure, any healthy chassid is definitely yearning to be by the Rebbe for Tishrei. It doesn't feel right to not be by the Rebbe. And there's a beautiful description which Rabbi Brodemir mentioned about the night from the Frierdiker Rebbe about a young boy whose name was Avram Doiber. His father's name was Yirmiyah. And he describes how as a 6-year-old child he was part of, his father agreed that he should go together to the Rebbe. At that time the Rebbe was the Tzemach Tzedek. They were leaving from Hoch, and there were many wagons, there was great excitement, the Chassidim were dancing, and his father almost forgot him there. You know, he was so caught up in the hoo-ha of going to the Rebbe. And he describes how going through different towns, picking up more Chassidim, the energy of the building. And when he gets to Lubavitch with his father, by the way, Chassidus Chabad also moved to Lubavitch on Chai Elul, into the Rebbe. When they get to Lubavitch, at this time it was Tzemach Tzedek, they get to Lubavitch and his father goes into Yechidus, he joins his father, and his father cries. So he also cried with his father. And then they came out, and his father was pulled into a circle of Chassidim dancing. So first they're crying, then they're dancing. He's all confused. He sits down after the dancing with his father, and he asks his father, what's going on over here? What was that? We went in, it's like the whole Yechidus, and then after the Yechidus, we come out and we're dancing. He wanted an explanation about everything that's going on. And so his father said to him, do you know what the Kohen Gadol did on Yom Kippur? He said, yeah, I learned the Cheder, the Kohen Gadol went to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he, got the atonement for Bnei Yisrael and Kodesh HaKadoshim. So he says, and what would happen when the Kohen Gadol would come out? He says, he learned that when the Kohen Gadol comes out, then he would come out in the golden clothes, and the Bnei Yisrael would follow him to his house, and there were long tables of food and drink, and they would all celebrate the great simcha that Hashem has forgiven the Jewish people. Then his father said, and now do we have a Beis HaMikdash? Before the child had a chance to answer, another group of Chassidim came out of Yechidus, and his father got pulled into the dance, and the conversation was over, and they were dancing and singing and slevnik and freilach. A little while later, his father settles back down next to his son. His son says, it's true, you don't have a Beis HaMikdash, so why are you dancing? What's all the dancing for? So the father said to him as follows. This is a quote that the Rebbe brought down in Sichos, a famous quote. The father said to him that ever since the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and we're in Galus until the day that the Eibusher will rebuild the Beis HaMikdash and Yerushalayim HaKodesh, Lubavitch is our Yerushalayim. And the shul of the Rebbe is our Beis HaMikdash. And the room of the Rebbe, the Yechidus room, is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the Rebbe is the Arein in which the Luchis are held. And the same is true for us. That for us, Yerushalayim is the Rebbe Shchuna. And the Rebbe's shul is the Beis HaMikdash. And the Rebbe's room is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And whether you go to the Rebbe's room in 770, the oil, wherever you find it, but the Rebbe is there. That is where the greatest Kedusha, the Gemara says, that the Elikus, the Eibush, is most present in Beis Rabbeinu Shabbat. And one could say, but I don't see the Rebbe, so God willing, we should see the Rebbe. Even in the times that we didn't see the Rebbe, now I don't know if you ever saw or ever able to look at the sun. You were able to look at the sun and see the exact shape of the sun? Well, it's not, because if you look at the sun, you can't look for very long to make out its exact shape. But if you try, I have this experience. I went to throw a frisbee right in front of my eyes. It has to be the right kind of frisbee. And it was pretty amazing because it explained to me even Chassidus. I was able to see the sun. Perfect ball. So I'm telling you, it's an exact circle. It's exactly a circle. If you have something wide, why could you see it? Because this thick plastic is blocking all the light. You can see the actual sun. Al derech zeh, I don't know, maybe it could be, maybe some Chassidim say, but for sure the feeling is there that, before Gimel Tammuz, maybe people got distracted a little bit. I don't know. But for sure nowadays, you go to the Rebbe, Atmos is there. The etzem of the Rebbe is there 100%. And maybe you can feel it even more, possibly, because you don't see all the light. You don't see all the light. So maybe you can actually feel the presence of the Mar itself. One thing's for sure, if you have a doubt, look at what the Bachrim are doing. Because by Bachrim it's a lakus b'pshitus, and Elul is b'yistachish. By Balabatim, things can get out of whack, and you get grub, and you start confusing things. But by Bachrim, that's where you see the truth. And Bachrim, from all areas, all countries, they all go to the Rebbe for Tishrei. Every year, it's more packed than 770, and in the oil, wherever they go, Bachrim are going to the Rebbe for Tishrei. Every type of Bachrim understands that you have to go to the Rebbe. So there's truth. That's the truth. If you don't get that truth, it's truth. It's not grubkat. The Rebbe is in 770, the Rebbe is in the oil, the Rebbe is there. It's essential for a chassid to want to be by the Rebbe, to go to the Rebbe. And as we know that there's three, a woman is acquired in three ways. The kesef, bishtar, and biyah. With money, with a document, and by being with her husband. And the same is true by a chassid, that there's three ways that a chassid connects with the Rebbe. The kesef, with money, kesef also comes from the word nichsim, nichsavta, is the idea of yearning, love. The love that a chassid has to the Rebbe, that's one form of connection. Bishtar is the writings of the Rebbe, learning the chassidus of the Rebbe. And v'biyah, kipshuta, the idea of coming, loving, to come to the Rebbe is an essential thing, a connection that you will not get by learning the Ma'amorim. And you will not get by watching the video, listening to the Fabregas. All of those things are essential and very important. But there's an Indian of a chassid coming to the Rebbe. And even though maybe your Nefesh of Bahamas is confused and doesn't know what it's about, but look at the Bachrim, who are the Kusbib Pshitus, they all know a Dara Pasha that Tishrei you by the Rebbe. And this is a chassid has to be there, or at least Al Kapara want to be there. A whole month of Elul is coming. You didn't think once that I want to be by the Rebbe for Tishrei or Shani and Kippur. So we have to check out exactly what's going on in the system inside.
Doing
a healthy chassid yearns to be by the Rebbe for Tishrei. There's a story, a well-known story that illustrates this. That once, in the days of the Chayza of Lublin, there was a group of Chassidim that used to go from a certain town to the Chayza every year. They would go to the Chayza for Yom Tov, every Yom Tov. And there was a certain individual in that town that didn't want to hear him going to the Chayza. They didn't want to hear about it. It couldn't be bothered. They didn't believe in the whole thing. And the Chassidim tried to convince him time and again, come try, you might get inspired, but he didn't want to hear from it. One year he thought to himself, I'm getting older, and I won't have that many more years that it'll even be an option. So this year maybe I'll try it out. I'll go with the Chassidim and I'll see what it's about. So he joined the Chassidim that year. He comes to Lublin. He's expecting to see a fancy medrash with a great chayza, tall ceilings, fancy chandeliers. Nothing doing. It's like a hafted place. It's a little shtickle with old benches. Not fancy at all. So maybe the chayza is a great holy person. He sees the chayza. He wasn't even impressed. Look at the old rabbi. Nothing impressed him. He's walking around thinking to himself. While he's walking and thinking, the chayza taps him on the shoulder. He turns around. The chayza says to him, I see you come. This is the first time you're here. Maybe you question. Maybe you need a bracha. What are you here for? Can I help you? So this Yid said, no, I just came to look around, don't need any help, I'm fine. So the Chayzer said to him, if so, then I want to tell you a story. And this is the story the Chayzer told him. He said that in the times of Beis HaMikdash, there was one Yid who every year, 3 times a year, he's not going, he stayed home. He couldn't be bothered making it to Yerushalayim. It's too complicated, too much of a schlep, wasn't interested. One year he decided that he's getting old. And if he doesn't go now, he's not going to have another opportunity. So he has to go. This year he's going to go. He already made this decision after everyone left. Everyone was already on their way to Yerushalayim, and he wakes up, he's going to Yerushalayim, he starts his journey, and he comes to a fork in the road, and he doesn't know which way to turn. He asks someone, he's laughing at him, a Yid like you doesn't know which way to Yerushalayim, you're supposed to be doing this 3 times a year, you don't know anymore. Anyway, he's embarrassed, but he needs directions. And the same thing happens the second time, the third time. Finally, he makes his way to Yerushalayim. He gets to Yerushalayim. He sees people are bringing karbanis to the Beis HaMikdash. So he buys a goat and comes to the Beis HaMikdash. And he's holding this goat with him, and he looks around and he sees animals being slaughtered. And he sees blood being spritzed on the mizbeach, and people are running around barefoot, and there's a whole commotion. And he thinks, this is the whole Beis HaMikdash, this is the whole deal, it's a butcher shop over here. This is what everyone's coming for 3 times a year. And while he's thinking these thoughts, he feels a tap on his shoulder. Continues the Chayzer's story to this fellow. He feels a tap on his shoulder, he turns around, and there is the Kohen Gadol. And the Kohen Gadol says to him,
You're gonna need my help. You don't feed me! Come on, fight! You don't feed me! You're supposed to be my friend!
So the Kohen Gadol says to him, he says like this, I see you're here and you have a carbon in your hand. Why do you have a carbon? Usually people bring a carbon, so they do that aver, this aver, what's this carbon about? So he says, no, I'm not that type of person. I just brought a carbon. I see other people bring carbonas to them based on me. So therefore, I brought a carbon too. So the Kohen Gadol says to him, and what about this and this occurrence that happened on that and that date? And what about the other thing you did on this date? And the third thing you did in this person's house over there on that date? And he starts walking through the guy's life, one thing after the other. This is the story that the Chayzer is telling this Yid, that the Kohen Gadol is telling the man with the goat. And as the Kohen Gadol is giving examples to the man with the goat, the Chayzer was going through this guy's life and saying one avera after the other, different things that he had done. Mamish, like an open book, the Chayzer was reading this Yid.
Kornhauser, one feeding friend! Yeah, fuck you all!
Now, I don't know if the Chayzer, I don't know if this guy ever became a chassid. That I don't know. I think Chayzer became a chassid. But he all of a sudden realized what it means. It looked like a dilapidated little shtibel and nothing happening, but all of a sudden he realized that here is the holiest and greatest place in the world. Here the Shekhinah lies. The place of the Chayzer is the Beis HaMikdash. Just like the Kohen Gadol. And the importance of this is obvious. The importance of going to the Beis HaMikdash, going to the Rebbe, is obvious by the halacha. That Yidden had a mitzvah to go to the Beis HaMikdash 3 times a year. Now I make the cheshbon. There are certain Jews that live 2 weeks away, travel from the Beis HaMikdash, 2 weeks away. And could be there were people who had something to do with their lives, right? Could be they were busy people. No matter, it didn't make a difference. If you were a Yid, you were male over 13, you had a mitzvah to go to the Beis HaMikdash. So how much time did such a person who was 2 weeks away go for the Beis HaMikdash the whole year? How much time did he spend? There's 3 Yom Tovim, and 2 weeks there, and 2 weeks back, and a week staying, on average, a little less, almost 15 weeks a year. Almost 15 weeks a year, that's almost a third of a year. A Yid, the big difference who you are, it was a chiyuv for you to spend going to the Beis HaMikdash. It must be something worthwhile. Because this is where you got your inspiration for the year. And the same is true with going to the Rebbe, that this is essential. A Yid has to go to the Rebbe. And Al Kopanim, for sure, that his rutzing, that it's coming, it's Chodesh Elul, Tishrei is coming, Chassid has to feel a desire to be by the Rebbe. I remember growing up in Pittsburgh, some of the shluchim, Chassidish, they would go mamish in and out. They couldn't go. They would go they would drive in and drive out. They were there maybe for half an hour. That was the whole thing. Here's a little more complicated, but there's some Chassidim over here who also fly in and fly out. Okay, whatever it is, each in their own way. Each in their own way. But the point is certainly Chodesh Elul has to remind the Yid that his place is in Chatzos Chodshenu and he wants to be with the Rebbe. That should be with the Rebbe in Yerushalayim, Yer HaKodesh. Take it from me out. know that there's some interesting Rashi Tevis for the months that we've gone through Tammuz. The Rashi Tevis is Mani Tshuva Mimash Mashim Ugoyim. It's in order, but Mani Tshuva Mimash Mashim Ugoyim. The days of Tshuva are coming. Of is the Rashi Tevis for Bo Elul. Elul is coming. And Elul is a Rashi Tevis for Ani L'Deiti V'Deiti. And I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. A passage from Shir Hashirim, which describes the love and the connection between Bnei Yisrael and Hashem. Now, if you zoom back a little bit in Shir Hashirim, you'll find that there's another passage that also describes the love between Hashem and the Jewish people in different words. You know, there's Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. So the same is true. Ani L'Doidi, Doidi Li. There's a passage that says, Doidi Li, Vani Loi. My beloved is to me, and I am back to him. So the shaila is, why is it called Chodesh Elul? Why not Chodesh Delul? Why Ani L'Doidi, Doidi Li? It should be Doidi Li, Vani Loi. That's earlier Shir. Chodesh Delul. Why Chodesh Elul? And the truth is, this is an age-old dispute. The Eibusher says, Shuvah Elai v'Shuvah Elei. Right? Bnei Yisrael tore away from Hashem. Each shot is saying, you make the first move. The Eibusher says, Shuvah Elai, you return to me, and then I'll return to you. And Bnei Yisrael say, Hashimeinu Hashem Yelecha. You, Hashem, return us to you, and then Shuvah, then we'll return. Each one wants the other one to initiate. Is it Ani L'Doidi, is it Doidi Li? And obviously it's two different ways, it's two different pathways. There's some in life, sometimes a person has a miracle that happens to them. It could be something good, it could be something chas v'shalom the opposite. Just like the mountain that the Eibusher put on Bnei Yisrael by Har Sinai. Either it was a mountain and the Eibusher said, Poi take for Raskem, I'll bury you here if you don't accept the payment. Or it was a mountain of love, both. Either way, whether it's a miracle that happens to you or it's a hardship, but sometimes the Eibusher barges in on your life. It's Doidi Li, he comes straight in. He initiates. There's when I was a young buck, I used to go in Fifth Avenue in downtown Pittsburgh. And Fifth Avenue downtown Pittsburgh was a lot of Israelis, electronics, jewelry. There was one shop, which I didn't even know where it was, because everyone knew that you don't go there, because the guy that was there was aggressive. Not only didn't want to kill him, he's a South American, he was aggressive. You walked in, I never met him, I didn't know where his shop was, but early Abachim were mamish afraid. So, anyway, his name was Pablo. It's Pablo, so finished, you know, no one went there. Anyway, one year, someone in the community, his name was Yankele Pellet. Yankele Pellet was in the Sanchanim, he was from a kibbutz, and totally not from, and he became a real chassid. So he deals a little with the Israelis over there, and he somehow got hold of this Pablo, and he convinced Pablo to come to shul for Yom Kippur, just for Yom Kippur. That's it. Pablo came to shul Yom Kippur, and Yankele was saying Kaddish for his mother. So Mitamo, davening, everyone stops. Yankele sits in the back of the shul. It's a big shul. Room probably 4 times this size at least. Big shul. And Yankele is all the way in the back. And he starts saying Kaddish. He says Kaddish, and the whole community is answering him. So Pablo, who's sitting right next to him, he didn't understand. He said the whole prayer, there was someone in the front standing by the beam over there. He was leading the prayer. You're sitting over here and you're running the show. He didn't understand. So he asked him, well, what's this all about? So Yankele said, I'm saying Kaddish for my mother. He didn't know what Kaddish was. So Yankele explained this prayer that we say for him. So Pablo said his mother also passed away. Recently he wants to say Kaddish too. He said Kaddish. From that Yom Kippur, Pablo did not stop coming to shul. He did not stop coming to shul. And today, his name is not Pablo, his name is Shraga. This is probably 20 years ago. His name is Shraga. He's talking a light, he's a yid who sits, full beard, he learns iron bass every morning. No kidding, you can see him. He's a chassid who goes to the Rebbe Tishrei. Whenever he has an opportunity, Yom Kippur, and then leave. Yom Kippur, and then he started to come to shul and went straight into Chassidus. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he knows. He came to Yom Kippur and the Eibusher grabbed him. And that was, maybe a day you leave on Elul. I don't know. It was something, and he never turned back. So sometimes it happens like that. And that's Sakin Delul. We don't have a month called Delul, but it's called Nisan. It's the same thing. Nisan would happen. Bnei Yisrael were stuck in Mitzrayim, Memta Shari Tumah. They were not in a good state. And they should pull them out. All initiated from above. But then we have a Chodesh Elul. Chodesh Elul is the month that we find ourselves in, which is an Anil Day, which is the times it's expected of us to make that first move. We have to approach the king. We have to come to the Eibusher. That doesn't mean that we don't have help. Doesn't mean that we're on our own. The king is in the field, as we all know. He comes down. He's accessible. But we have to go be Mekabel Pnei HaMelech. We have to go and greet him. He doesn't inspire us to greet him. We have to make that first move. And as Chassidus explains, what does it mean to go and greet the king? It means to be Me'erer, the Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim, to awaken within yourself acceptance of the yoke of heaven. In other words, to start internalizing what it says in Gemara Kiddushin, that I was created to serve Hashem. I don't have any other existence save serving Hashem. Kabbalah says, right? To internalize that message. There's nothing else. To the point that in Chassidus, with the problem, Shemini Esrei, you're in the highest place, you start asking for parnasa and health. What are you asking for your own things? You're an Eved of the Eibusher. So we explained that when you ask for parnasa, and you ask for help, and you ask for all these things, it's only in order that you should be able to serve the Eibusher better. There's no self-agenda. You're an Eved of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Elul is a time that have to be me'er the Kabbalas El Malchus Shamayim. Well, like, there was a little clip that was going around. I'm sure everyone saw it over here, but it's a cute clip. A little animated guy who was a rabbi. He's walking. Probably everyone saw it, but he's walking over there with a sefer, and he's walking and looking at a sefer, and then he passes by one sign, and the sign says "Danger, beware." I don't remember what each sign said, but basically, as he continues, it says, "Getting very close to enemy lines. Stop now." But he doesn't see the sign. He's learning. Continues. He says, "Rest in peace, you fool! You didn't listen to us. The enemy is 2 meters away." Something like that. Anyway, he keeps on walking. Before he knows it, he's at dead end. Smack! What happened? He bumped into the big, burly Russian guard. And this Russian guard sees this old rabbi, and he grabs him, and he lifts him up into the air, and he shakes him, and he says, "Who are you? And where are you going?" And the rabbi is like, in the daze. And then he says to this Russian guy, "How much do you get paid to do this?" They're suspended in there. So the Russian guy, he's like that. He says, 10 rubles. 10 rubles. 10 rubles a day is our payment. He says, "I'll pay you 100 rubles. If you come to me every day to my house, and you pick me up and shake me and say, 'Who are you and where are you going?'" Chodesh Elul is a "Who are you and where are you going?" We have to go and greet the king. The Melech Basada. We have to be me'er the Kabbalah Shamayim to get our life in check. What's my purpose over here? Remember, let's give you a shiur in South Yara, and there's this lawyer there, retired lawyer, and we're learning about this one in their life courses, and they spoke about the different spheres and what they mean in your life, and Kesser represented what's your purpose in life. We started talking about it, and this lawyer, retired lawyer, I actually never asked myself that question. What's my purpose? Why am I here? He had a career, he understood he had to provide for his family, but he never actually thought to himself, why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Chodesh Elul is a question we have to ask ourselves, who are you and where are you going? And we have the answer. It's in Kiddushin, it's all over Chassidus, that I'm not after the Kuchabrichu. You're here to be embracing the Shamish's Kain. I have a purpose. My purpose is to be the servant of Hashem, and we have to get that clear. The Kabbalah Shamayim. I have a yoke. I mean, that's my identity. I have to get this identity clear. That's what Chodesh Elul is. No, there's a lot of assistance. The Eibusher is there. The king's in the field, but it has to come from us. It's a matter of need, the day. It's not devil. It's Chodesh Elul.
Okay.
mashal that we made mention of before, the Melech Basadeh, so there's details there that all of the Mamorim challenge, question. You have these details that not when the king is in the field, he receives everyone with pleasant countenance. And he shows them a smiling face. And the question is, what's this doing in the mashal? Firstly, Elul is supposed to be a month of Yira. We're blowing the shofar, and the point of blowing the shofar is we talk on shofar that if there's a shofar blown in the city, people tremble. It's about Yira, it's fear. And furthermore, so what's this smiling? It sounds like love and happiness. It doesn't seem like it's appropriate for the month of Elul. And furthermore, Elul is ani l'doidi. It's what you do. It's your approaching the king. How the king responds and how he reacts is really irrelevant to Elul. Maybe that's Tishrei. Look at an Elul. Why in the month of Elul, a parable that is describing Chodesh Elul, do we have the details of the pleasant countenance and the smiling face? So, there's different explanations on this point. But one of the nikudas is as follows. That the fact that the king is in the field is in order to enable, to make it possible that every Yid should be able to reach the king. In the words of the Mashal, Rashoy v'yecholim, as the Vidya adds, everyone has permission and has the capability of greeting the king. That's why he's in the field, to be accessible. If you didn't have the details of a pleasant countenance and a smiling face, then you can't say that the king is truly accessible to all. He wouldn't be accessible. Why? Because there are certain Jews who find themselves in the midbar, in the desert. What's a desert? The desert, as the pasuk describes it, is Eretz Lo Zerua. Eretz Lo Zerua means a land that's not planted, there's no life, nothing's growing, there's no kedusha. Chayim, life comes from Hashem, is kedusha. A place where there's nothing growing means there's no kedusha. Or as it's explained elsewhere in Siddur, that's Eretz Lo Zerua means it's a land that is planted with loy, with sin. It's full of sin. There's certain people who find themselves in a place that's called the desert. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a person who's mamish doing averos, terrible averos. It could possibly be that he's a Peter girl. That when he makes decisions in life, it's not what does the Abishim want, it's what do I want. It doesn't have to be a bad guy, it could be a very, in society, be very respected individual. But Kabbalah Israel is not a factor in his life. It's about what I want. So what's my agenda? That's the determining factor. That's how he makes his decisions. So he's in the midbar. And sometimes he's addicted to that, whether it be Simcha Pshutai or it's not just Kabbalah's Prikasayel. He's addicted to that, and he finds it very difficult to accept the yoke of heaven. It's a big change in life to start asking yourself every time you make a decision. Should I go on holiday? What does the Abishur want? Should I go out to the restaurant? Does the Abishur want me to go out to the restaurant? He's not used to that. It's totally not his lingo at all. But it's Chodesh Elul, and the king's in the field, and he wants to greet the king. He's a Yid. He wants to be Mekabel of Master Shemayim, but he can't. He finds it too difficult to actually accept the yoke of heaven. It's not something he's used to at all. So, to such a person, we would have to say that the king is not accessible. He can't get to the field. He's stuck in the middle. He's stuck in a place where there's no yoke. And he can't get to the king. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe adds these details that he receives everyone with a pleasant countenance. What does that mean? He receives everyone, as the Rebbe explains, it means he receives your desire to change. You never made it to the field, but you want to change. You want to accept the yoke of heaven. That desire to want to accept the yoke of heaven, the king receives that favorably. In other words, you get reports that the king was very impressed that you wanted to change. It made a favorable impression on him. Imagine what that means to the guy who's stuck in the desert, and he hears that even his desire to change, he's already saved upon your face. He's already in a good mood that he heard that I want to change. That certainly further empowers me to actually pull myself up and get to the field. Now, there's a story that was going around recently. that there was once a Yerushalmi kid. Who unfortunately, he went off the path. And he moved in with his cousin on the kibbutz. And totally all. And to the point that he met a non-Jewish girl he was ready to marry. And his cousin was like, it's unheard of. Even his cousin would marry a non-Jew. So he convinced his kid, go back to your parents, to your Shalim, at least for one Shabbos before you tear all connection. Because once you marry a non-Jewish girl, it's already finished. So he agreed and he went to Yerushalayim for that Shabbos. And he spent Shabbos the way he usually spent Shabbos, watching movies, smoking out on the porch. He did whatever he did, but he was there for Shabbos. Shabbos afternoon, his father comes to him and he says to him, I'm going to the shir. Do you want to come? So he says, who's giving the shir? The father said, Rabbi Steinman. Steinman, that's the last name. I'm at 4. He's one of the big list of shir today. So Rabbi Steinman said, okay, I'll come to the shir. Come to the shir. And after the shir, the father goes over to Rabbi Steinman and says, Shabbos. Introduced him to his son. He's not a Shem. I don't know how he introduced him somewhere. It was obvious that he's not from. And Rabbi Steinman asks him, tell me, how long have you not been Shomer Shabbos? He said, I think 2 years. He says, have you ever had a thought of tshuva? Sorry for Shabbos yet? So he thinks and he says, you know what? Yeah, a few times I have. How many times? 4 times maybe. And how long did that thought of tshuva last you? That thought, maybe 10 minutes on average. Maybe 10 minutes. If I had to average out 4 times, each time about 10 minutes. And then I just rejected it. So Rabbi Steinman says to him, so that means that in the past 2 years, you spent 40 minutes in a place that even the greatest tzaddik can't get. So 40 minutes you spend in this sacred place where a tzaddik gomer can't touch. I'm jealous of you. Good Shabbos. Went home and went back to the kibbutz. So the conversation had an impact on him. And he started to think. Eventually he breaks off with this girl and he ends up coming back and becoming a frum boy. One Shabbos he's talking with his father after the home. And his father asks him, he said, I know I was there with that conversation with Rabbi Steinman and I saw that it made a good impression on me and so on. But I was just wondering, I never understood, why did he even agree to come to the shir in the first place? So he says, I'll tell you what, because when I was a child, one time our Rabbi asked Rabbi Steinman to come in for us. Test us. We found out later that our Rabbi told him to give easy questions because we're not that advanced. He came with a big bag of candy. And each kid got a question. When he asked the question, he got a candy. Came my turn. He asked me a question. It wasn't a hard question, but I didn't know the answer. So he asked me a second question, an easier question. I still don't know. So he asked me a third question. This is mamish basic. This is legal. It's mamish. I didn't know the answer. So at the end of the time, I said, I don't walk out. I can. I was the only one who was left to talk. As I was walking out, he calls me over. He says, he says, in Yiddishkeit, we reward efforts. Every single one of the kids worked on one question, they got an answer, they got an answer. You worked on 3 questions. You get 3. So that encounter made me remember him, and therefore when he told me he's giving me a shir, I came and I joined the shir, and that's what changed it. That's the idea of rewarding effort. And that's the Kabbalah of this Purim, they say before you try, you want to change. You didn't quite get it, but you want to change. It's already the Kabbalah says coming. But then there's Ma'arif Sheikhakos. Ma'arif Sheikhakos means, as this explains, when the king smiles at you, it's not just that he rewards your effort. It's that he shows you that you are his greatest pleasure. You're his deepest pleasure. Without getting into details, because we're running close to Ma'arif, but he basically tells you that his greatest pleasure is you. And if he had a moment with himself, parents need a moment with themselves to get away from their kids. A moment with the Eibush for himself would be with you. He loved you unconditionally. That's a much deeper message. One parent could say, listen, you're amazing because you succeeded. Another parent could say, you're amazing because you tried hard. A third parent says, you're amazing because I love you because you're my son. I don't care why. I use an essential connection. And this is the message of Ma'arif Sheikhakos, where the king smiles at you. And as it says, kamayim upon lepanim, that a person reacts with the love that's shown to you, you reciprocate back. That makes you feel a tremendous love back to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter becomes your main focus and your main pleasure, your main love. Because he shows that to you and your heart is forced to reflect that back. So Elul is an amazingly opportune month. But you have to make the first move. If you're not looking at the king, you don't see the smile. You don't meet the Hesed. You want to greet him, then you miss out a whole month. You go by a whole month and eat chips. You miss the whole place of Shalom. We have an incredible month, and now it's Chayel, which is Mason, Chayes, and Elul. So you have to take Elul to a whole new level, and the smile gets bigger. Your face is bigger, the smile is bigger. But the Rebbe says, the closer we get to Rosh Hashanah, the Chapara and the Chayim, we should all be Mekavas, the melon. Say everybody, and we'll begin to say everybody your face, and Marifan Sheikh's face, Gipshutei, Kino Matna
So,
Porque